What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I am Sherry Elise. I am a five-time published author. I am host of the TV show Good Morning Joy, and I am here in partnership with Brave Healer Publishing to introduce you to some of the amazing authors in one of their newest books called When People Rise. HR Secrets for Small Business Growth, Success, and Legacy. And before I introduce you to these amazing ladies, I first want to give a shout out and a big thank you to their lead author, Susan S. Mahaffee. And thank you so much for putting this all out into the world because we all could rise together with one another. So let me go ahead and get started and start with Laura Reynolds. Laura Reynolds is the founder and CEO of Executive Endurance Coaching, where she coaches using endurance principles that fuel long-term performance. Stacy Piper is the founder and CEO of Piper Strategies, a boutique marketing agency providing fractional CMO services, strategic marketing, and content-driven growth strategies to professional services. And finally, Jaime Damkroger, and she is the CEO of Talent Matters, helping growth-minded CEOs ditch PR headaches HR headaches by making better people decisions that support business growth. Woo! Welcome, ladies. Great to have you here.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for
us.
having us.
Yes, it's fun. You could tell I'm in PR. I say PR instead of HR. I was like, that wasn't a Freudian slip at all. So, first, thank you so much for your contributions to the book. And, as someone who hasn't worked specifically in HR, but always what we call the people industry, which really is everybody everywhere. I know how important your work is. So just thank you so much. I'm going to dive right in, and I'm just going to start with Jaime. I would love for you to tell us, number one, the name of your chapter, the chapter number, and then talk to us about your why. Why did you write this chapter?
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. So I wrote chapter 10, which is titled HR as a Business Partner, Not a Department, because people decisions are business decisions. And I ultimately decided to write this chapter because I am so passionate about the work that I do. And I unfortunately think that HR gets a bad rap sometimes. And I think sometimes it's all about the approach. And so I wanted to share that in a way that's been very meaningful to me. I share a story about an experience I had very early on in my career, what I call a career defining moment, where I spent time at a manufacturing facility and it really shaped everything that I've done since. And so I was excited to get it all out on paper and have the opportunity to share a framework that I've developed that, again, just really drives all of the work that I do.
Can you give us a little tip or a little insight into your framework, into your
Yeah,
tool?
absolutely. So my tool is called the MEAT framework. And it is very simple, but basically it's map the business reality. So I think again, so often HR professionals don't necessarily dive in and understand the business they're supporting. And so getting to know the ins and outs of the company, understanding the players, understanding even the financials behind what's going on. Earning trust through early involvement, so that goes on both sides. So the business bringing problems in early to HR, trying to partner instead of just dumping things in our lap and saying, hey, help me clean this up. Expressing problems clearly. So again, I've had many business partners that come to me and they try to sugarcoat things and explain problems to me in a way because they're trying to be very, very, correct in the way that they say things. Just to express it in an open, simple way. Let's just talk. And then last but not least, tailoring solutions together. So again, not dumping things, saying let's work on this together. Let's come up with things. Let's iterate back and forth. And really, really simply, when I've been able to apply those principles and frameworks with the businesses I've supported, we have just had amazing results.
I love that. I mean, all I hear, and of course it's in the word and human
Right.
resources is like, let's just treat each other like people,
Right.
like you're saying, and not sugarcoat and just be direct, just be people.
Right.
And that's what I loved as I was reading through this book is, no matter what the story that was shared and the tool that was shared, it was really all about just seeing each other, being there for each other, supporting each other,
Right.
and how I mean, not to be cheesy with the title, but how we all rise in that.
Right.
So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Laura, what about for you? What is the welcome and what is the name and title of your chapter? And talk to us about your why.
Thank you. I was chapter 5, and it's called The Beauty and the Blow Up, and it's how moments that break you could be working for you. And my big why was so that people felt less alone in what I call this phase in life of becoming, which is really like a constant thing. There's never like, okay, I've become this new version of myself and that's it, work is done. This is something that you kind of have to change and edit as you move throughout your life. And there was a pretty pivotal moment in my life where I felt really alone in this becoming, where I was like, I knew I was done with this one chapter of my life, but I wasn't quite sure what the next chapter looked like yet.
Mhm.
Um, and as I'm sure others can identify with, it's a scary feeling to not really know what the other side looks like, but to be done with where you are.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I allow somebody to feel more seen in this state of becoming? Because everyone is in a state of becoming. So how do we do this together? So I talk a little bit about what that feels like to be going on that journey.
Yeah, and I loved your story, the closet analogy. Like I was just standing there with you in that, and I thought it was so brilliant in the fact that how it was this vision for yourself, like not getting stuck in what is or what you saw yourself as, but where is it that you want to go and who is it that you want to be?
Yeah.
And I imagine that that's in any area of your life, as you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. And I think subconsciously we don't even realize, and in this particular example I use the closet, but you can't become a new thing if you're holding on to these old versions of what you were, either for
Mhm.
yourself or for other people. And for me, I was actually holding on to a lot of the versions of me that I created for other people and their
Mhm.
happiness. And subconsciously, I was passing these outfits every day that, somebody else may have looked good in, an influencer or something. So I was like, oh, I'll get it. Or an outfit that may have made my parents proud or whatever. But you don't even realize that when you're exposing yourself to these things subconsciously, it's altering who you're able to become. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
really
So
hoping.
talk to us, and you don't have to share, don't give it all away, but share with
Sure.
me a little about your tool.
Sure. So my tool is actually called the Create Method, and I had taken it from somebody that I had seen on TV recently. And I was like, how can I go through, like, for me, I needed to physically touch these old versions and physically
Mhm.
get rid of them. And it was something that I had put off for forever. I didn't want to touch this closet because it was painful, it was frustrating, it was scary. Um, but the Create Method is helping people to go through that exercise of physically going through their closet so that they can alter who they are in their life and who they're becoming. So, create stands for clarity. And that's where you really want to get clear. Like, who do you want to be on the other side of this? Not who you are, but like, who do you want to be on the other side of this? Um, Ritual is the R. So making this something that is like you're going to be doing this on a regular basis. Like I said, you don't just become and then you're done with it. Like you're going to have to edit this a couple of times. So that was the E is edit. You're going to be editing this version of yourself now, and then, another chapter is going to occur and you're going to do it again. Um, and alignment is the other piece of this. So finding where you're really aligned, as a recovering people pleaser, so many of my outfits as I went through them were things that I would never wear. They just didn't feel like me. So of course, if you don't feel like yourself, you're not going to operate in a way that you are yourself. So finding that alignment is really like the biggest piece of this is who do you want to be? And it's really allowing this tool allows somebody to manifest who they want to be on the other side of cleaning their closet.
I loved it. I did love it. And I think the thing that I love about this book and Laura's books is that, you know, you hear these great stories, you all are vulnerable, you share hardest moments of your life, but then everybody gets to walk away with a different tool and a different way to apply that to their life. And it's like, I always feel like you kind of win the lottery with these books because you could just open up at any moment, you know, check out a title and see what it is that's there for you in that moment. So thank you for providing that for us,
Yeah,
all of
you're
you.
welcome.
And now I'll go over to Stacy. Stacy, share with us first, welcome, and share with us the name of your chapter and title and your why.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm Stacy Piper, and my chapter was Lucky 13. The title is Connection Fuels Growth: How People Power Your Brand Success. And so I was really excited to be included in the book because, you know, Susan had mentioned it was really designed for HR leaders. And I'm a marketer like you,
Mhm.
Sherry. So,
Uh-huh.
right, it was kind of ironic that my chapter is on connection because the whole reason Susan and I connected is because I introduced her to some other authors for the book. And then once those authors decided to join the movement, she was like, well, now we have to meet. And it was just really organic that way.
Yeah. Your chapter first, the writing itself and just starting us off right, you know, at that big moments of walking out of your job, your career, at all of those years, and really putting us on the front lines of what that looks like to have to start all over again and to figure it all out. And that journey there. Why share this story? Are these tools important, do you think, right now for people?
Yeah, I think it's, you guys are all saying we're like circling around the same thing. It's that being vulnerable. And like, I feel like all too often these moments don't get talked about. And so when it does happen to someone, they can't see what's coming around the corner. They don't have that sense of optimism. So that's really the why behind sharing it.
Yeah, and you talk your tool, what did you called it, the bridge? A bridge
Yes, the
frame?
bridge framework.
Yes. And can you just give us just a summary, a gist of what you're sharing with people in that?
Yeah, of course. It's really saying that it's built on these two realities that growth depends on connection
Hmm.
within your culture of an organization and across your market presence. And that connection also has depth from functional interactions to really deeply relational trust. And so when those internal and external systems operate in silos, growth is really hard to get. It feels forced. But when they operate in sync, growth becomes really earned and really exponential.
I love it. I'm a big person on connection. So just following your in any way, that's actually what my show was based on was the five pillars of joy. I'm not plugging my own stuff, but I just share like the five pillars of joy are all about connection, different parts of connection. So I really related to that and really how your business and your consulting firm like took off because of all of the connections with everybody and how
Yeah,
you grew that. So and that's all about people again, right?
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and I don't think I even realized it until I wrote the chapter. Like, so for me, I didn't even know what I was going to write on.
Hmm.
And Susan's like, just start writing and see where it takes you. And that's when connection emerged. And that's when the actual bridge framework emerged. I mean, I
Wow.
think I had been using pieces and parts of it
Hmm.
all through my life and growing my business, but it really didn't become a thing until I wrote the chapter.
I love that. It became as Laura would talk about. We don't know what we're becoming. So I'll stick with you on this question and ask you what is the most important thing that you want people to know about how, let's talk about again, how people power your brand's success. Right out of your chapter title.
Okay, and you're sticking
Yes,
with me.
I'm
Okay.
sticking with you
I
on
would
this
just
one.
say that the most important thing I think for any person or brand is to be authentic. I think if you are authentic in all your interactions, your service delivery, whatever it is, I feel like only good can come of it. Like even if you don't win the work or you don't hire the person you want to hire, if you're authentic, it probably would have been a bad hire, or it would have been the wrong client or the wrong project. And so I just like to say, like, just be that honest version of yourself, and good things come. And in that, hopefully the authentic part of yourself is also the person that wants to lift others. Because I
Mm.
feel like when you do that, all boats rise.
Yes, love that. Thank you for that. Love that. Jamie, talk to me about what is the most important thing that you want people to know about HR as a business partner and not just a department.
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. And it's something, again, I'm just so passionate about.
Hmm.
I think so often, and I use this visual a lot when I'm onboarding a new client, or anytime I started at a new company, it's this idea of the finger pointing. And um, so often I see HR pointing the finger, saying, whatever the case may be, and the business saying, no, HR is doing this, and let's remove that. Let's be a partnership. People are people. And we need to close this gap and remove this tension. And so ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's just how do we, and it's both sides of the table. It is not the business doing one thing and HR doing another. Both have opportunities to close that gap and to work together. Again, we're here to help and not be the barrier. So really that's the biggest part of what I'm trying to get across is how do we do this in a really meaningful way for everybody that's involved?
And do you think that I know this might be do you think that it's possible? Have you seen it happen where people actually implement that and the success around
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely, multiple times. And I think it takes both parties. Both parties have to have the good relationship. Both have to bring something to the table. We all have skin in the game, so let's just all work together versus working against each other. And I absolutely think that it can it
Yeah.
can it can happen. And when it does, you can feel it.
I mean, it's ultimately about realizing that everybody's on the same team. I
Right.
mean, that's what that
Absolutely.
for in anything, right? We all
Right.
want the same
Right.
thing. So finding that common ground. Love
Absolutely.
that. Laura, talk to me about what is the most important thing that you want people to know about. Let's talk about how those hardest moments, so right out of your title, how moments that break you actually work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to say it. I am one of those people that was perpetually finding myself saying, why is this happening to me? Why do these things keep happening to me?
Hmm.
Um, and it wasn't until I had a coach that actually said to me, what if it's happening for you? And that was like a light bulb moment where some of these big moments that are hard, painful, sad, frustrating, it's really hard in that moment when you're in the thick of it to see the good in it and like, what could this be teaching me? Um, but I just really want it to resonate with people that there's a reason for all of the things that happen when you're becoming the next version of yourself. So even though it's really hard to see it in that moment, try to think like, how could this be for me? And that's kind of what happened with my closet. I kept
Mhm.
avoiding it, thinking like, oh gosh, it's painful, it's really hard. I don't know that I want to touch and have to move through those chapters, but it was so happening for me because in physically walking those bags out of the old versions of who I was, I felt lighter than I had felt in years. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was for me the entire time. It wasn't happening to me. It wasn't something that I had to do. I got to do it and I got to be a different person on the other side. So if it allows people to see that potential, then that's what I'm really kind of going for.
And I would say, as someone who made that mindset flip as well earlier in my life, like that has literally been a game changer for everything because you take back the control of your life. You're in the power seat. It's never about, everything else being out of control. I like to say that I no longer wait for hindsight to trust a moment anymore, that I already know. I may not know why it's knocking, but I trust that it's there for me. So I think people are really going to pull that from that. And that's going to help so many. So
Yeah.
um, let me know. I'd love to know. I know all of you are in different parts, whether it's in the HR department specifically or working around or with, but everyone deals with people. right? We're all dealing with that. So I would love to know, I'll stay with you, Laura. What is the greatest lesson or insight that you have learned about people, working with people?
Oh my gosh, I
Wisdom,
just
I
think
know.
it goes back to kind of what you said a couple seconds ago, where we really are much more similar than we realize, regardless of the paths that we are in or the professions that we're in, the world that we're living in. Like we're all kind of in this shared experience. And as lonely as some of those things can be individually for us, so many people are experiencing the exact same thing. And I learned that even in, collaborating with the other authors for the book is
Mhm.
like we've had all these various walks of life, but we all collectively felt very lonely at some point in this journey, and
Mm.
we were coming together so that other people felt less lonely. So how cool is that, that we're all very similar despite how different we may be?
And I think that awareness of that and all of us walking around with knowing our similarities really can change and heal the world. So thank you for your contribution to this book.
Yeah, of course.
Stacy, what about you? In your work with people, what would you say has been your greatest lesson or insight into working with people?
Um, I would say it's really just listen and observe. I think some of the things that came out in my chapter were about, not just listening, but hearing. Like, I started my career in sales. So salespeople get that bad rap of always doing the talking and not the listening. But I
Mhm.
was definitely a question asking salesperson. So basically, prospective clients told me what they wanted to buy so I could customize what I
Mhm.
offered them. But what doesn't come out in the chapter that I can offer as a tip is to observe. There were times in my career where, the green-eyed monster would come around and I was thinking kind of, why am I not getting this opportunity? And at some moment in my life, I think it was right after becoming a new mom, I was able to see what some of those individuals, some skills or character traits they had that I didn't yet exhibit.
Mhm.
And that was a really big moment for me because then I could very like authentically just say, oh, they do this really well. I want to build that skill. And I was able to kind of, you know, learn from watching them and put it into work for myself. And then my career continued to take off in the direction I wanted it to.
Amazing. It's like using people for inspiration as opposed to, the green-eyed monster, I would
Yeah,
say,
the
as you said.
competition.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
competition. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Thank you for that, Stacy.
you're welcome.
Yeah, all of your contributions are really great. I haven't, and I'll be honest, I've read a lot of the books, haven't read a book specifically with this angle and just yeah, I think it's a really unique book. I'm excited for people to get their hands on it. Jamie, I'll ask you, in all of your work with people, with us silly humans, what would you say is your greatest insight or something that you've learned?
It's such a good question, and I'm having a hard time, pinpointing one thing. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, people are people. And it always blows my mind, especially, working in fractional HR like I do today. I'm working across geographies and across industries, and the same behaviors and problems and things pop up across all of them. And it's interesting. People are people. And so I always have to remember that. And when I'm coaching leaders and we're experiencing a problem, for example, people don't come to work thinking I'm going to mess up today, right? There's something going on. We've got to get to the heart of what's happening. And so I think that's what I have to narrow it down to is just people are people, and we have to just get back to the root of that.
And when you give that, there is forgiveness in that, there's empathy in that, there's
Hmm.
compassion, there is all of that. And this is such a silly example, but I remember dating, and the first time, like, this guy was amazing, but I just didn't have those feelings for him.
Right.
And I remember thinking, huh, this is probably how people feel about you too. There's nothing wrong with you. And it just
Right.
opened my eyes to about just we're all so different. Like everything you're saying, we all make mistakes. We all show up in different ways. We all don't have great days. So
Hmm.
that's such a great, sorry about my dating reference, but that's such a great insight into really understanding people and giving them grace.
Right.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. I'm going to ask you all like one final question. Anything that you want to leave with people today, that you want them to walk away from this conversation and with this book, from this book? I'll stick with you.
Oh gosh, again, a really great question. Again, I think again, HR can be seen as kind of, the joke at times, and we don't always get the best rap. And so, embrace it. Come to us, talk early, use us as a business partner, and really great things can happen.
Thank you. Laura, what about for you? Any last final words about anything? It's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think my chapter, but also with a lot of my coaching clients, kind of the thing that I go back to is when you're in the middle of these really hard and maybe devastating moments, dig really deep and remember who you are. Remember what you're capable of. Um, it sounds cliche, but I mean, you're going to get through it. It's all happening for you. And yeah, I just hope people feel more seen in that.
Yeah.
That
There's
you're
definitely someone, yeah. There's definitely someone today that needs to hear you're going to get through it. So thank you for that.
yeah.
And
And
Stacy,
clean
what
your
about?
closet.
Yes. I was like, oh man, I got a lot to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stacy, what about you? Any last words for everybody?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll go bring it full circle. At the beginning, I think Laura said about being really vulnerable. Like, I think that you have to tell other people what you've gone through or what you're going through. So, because it's surprising how many people have some perspective to offer, and you could offer perspective to them if they only knew you had it to offer them. And so, and I the same thing goes for companies and for brands. I work with professional services firms, and the people are what they sell, right? And so many firms want to hide those people for fear that someone else will recruit them away.
Mm.
And it's the same thing. Those brands, if they were vulnerable and show their people, the people see that they're being elevated by the company, and that is actually an area of retention, not not a place where people will take them. And if they leave, they weren't meant to stay to begin with. And just you putting them in a little box in the dark won't keep them there. If they're meant to leave, they will actually leave. So really put them on a pedestal and showcase them.
Love that. It feels like this whole thing is, we've all kind of touched it. What's meant for you is you. Allow people to be them. Don't this competitiveness, just trust in what is and put a spotlight on people and allow them to shine their best, and everything will work out from the micro to the macro. So that's what I'm hearing. Be good to each other. Authors, thank you. Thank you all so much for what you do in the world and for being here with me to share it and with everyone. And to our listeners, just so you know, this is way more than a book. This is a generous community who is there for you to answer any questions or carry on a conversation like we all just had. And I'm sure that they would love to support you on your journey. So if something resonated with something we talked about today, go down to the show notes where we put all of these authors' links, explore. I'm sure they're happy to connect with you and share what's going on. And then, of course, don't forget to hop on over to Amazon and grab your copy of this book today. The link is also below. And then lastly, to everyone, the Brave Healer community wants you to remember that your words will change the world when you are brave enough to share them. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.